Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. So now that we have officially started, for those of you just joining us, I would like you to say hello to our featured guest today, who I'll introduce in a moment. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ben. I'm the editor of Performer Magazine, and every now and again, Elixir lets me take over their Instagram stream and talk to really cool artists and really cool people from the guitar industry to chat about different topics. So today's featured guest, Mira, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Mira. I am a songwriter. I mostly write country music, singer-songwriter, Americana, that whole sort of umbrella genre. I'm based out of California, so I appreciate you wait until the crack of 11 a.m. my time to do this. I see a lot of familiar usernames down there from my live streaming days before they killed that app. I was streaming on a lot, but it's good to see all you guys. Thanks for jumping in and being ready to harass me.
Well, Mira, thank you for joining us. The way that we typically try to structure this is I hope you have a guitar handy.
Sure do.
Yes. So what we like to do is we'll kind of break it up. We'll do maybe one or two questions, then have you play a little bit or demonstrate something that we've talked about. Do one or two more questions, have you play a little bit. And then at the end of the live stream, we'll save time for a little bit of Q&A. I know people are asking questions in the comments. So again, I will monitor that. I'll try to pick out the best ones from that. We also have some questions from social media that we can choose from as well. But without further ado, maybe let's get a quick kind of where did Mira come from story, you know, how you got into music and specifically where the guitar entered your life.
Okay. Well, thanks for making time for me today. I really appreciate it. I haven't done a live stream in a while, and so it's really nice to have an excuse to do that. And I always love meeting more people in the industry. Where did Mira come from? Well, so I heard this story from my parents a million times, but when I
we
went
don't
to
need to hear exactly where you came from.
when a man loves a woman.
No.
I went to preschool, and one of the kids at school had a violin and was show and telling the violin, and I became obsessed. And so I played the violin there's a violin up there. That's where my guitar usually is, but she's down here. Easy access. So I played the violin for like 10 years, and when I was a teenager, I thought, guitar's way cooler. I gotta play guitar. So I switched and never looked back. I mean,
well, for all the violinists in the crowd, you are still super cool, and we love you.
I wish I just did both. I mean, but I only had the time for one, so that's what I wanted to do.
If you have four hands, maybe you could somehow make that.
I'm not an octopus.
Can we see the guitar that you've got next to you right now?
Yes.
Excellent. So talk us through what we are looking at. What have we got here? Is this a Gibson?
I don't play favorites with my children. Oh wait, I actually have a child now. So okay, he's my favorite.
Maybe you do play favorites with people, children, but not guitar children.
I'm playing a Gibson. I have a few guitars, but this is kind of my main show on the road guitar, my writing guitar. This is a parlor size, so it's like pint sized, which is nice. Yeah. My husband also plays, so between the two of us, we have more guitars than we can justify. And a lot of the ones he buys are bigger body, and they're too big for me. I'm not like tiny. I'm 5'6", but I like a little pint-sized guitar. And I find when people see me playing a dreadnought, they comment on how that guitar's way too big for you. And I'm like, oh, that takes away from the show. Did you like my songs though?
We are on the Elixir Strings channel. Obviously, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about kind of your string preferences. All right in front of us. So what are we using for strings? Do you have a particular gauge that you like to use most of the time?
I like light strings. I've got thin little fingers, and a lot of people find that the thin ones, they break a lot or they hurt their fingers. These are perfect. These are tried and true for me. So I use the Polyweb extra light.
10 to 47, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost an electric gauge for an acoustic. I will say this, if you're an electric player who's maybe thinking of going acoustic but hasn't done so yet, the transition, if you're using like 13 gauge strings, can definitely be a bit of an adjustment, but the 10 to 47s are a real nice transition as you kind of build up your finger string.
They're definitely heavier than an electric for sure. But I hammer on this thing sometimes when things get spicy, and I don't have any problems. But I change my strings, regularly. So
yeah,
I take care of it.
Would you mind if we picked up the guitar again and maybe got to hear you play a little something?
Yeah.
That'd be excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's where I struggle. Which song should I do? Okay. This is one of my more recent songs that I've written. I went through a challenging year last year. And so I had this song idea. Really where it came from is I wanted to get a sweatshirt that said, "I might cry," just to warn people that when they talk to me, I'm just like always kind of felt like I was in that place where I might cry today, might not, but I definitely might cry. And so I brought that song idea to some co-writer friends of mine, and immediately they were like, I get it. Let's write that song. So this is called "I Might Cry." I woke up and the sun was shining through the blinds. I could smell the coffee brewing in the kitchen. All the signs were pointing to a perfect day. So why do I feel like something's missing? I think that I might cry. And sometimes I don't know the reasons why. I'm gonna hide under the covers, go silent on the phone, turn off all the lights and let them think that I'm not home. I know I'll be alright, but right now I might cry. I'll take a breath and take a step and take it slow. I know that I'm just going through the motions, but every now and then I have to let it go and find a way to let out these emotions. I think that I might cry, and sometimes I don't know the reasons why. I'm gonna hide under the covers, go silent on the phone, turn off all the lights and let them think that I'm not home. I know I'll be alright, but right now I might cry. I've been through this before and I'll go through it all again. It's what I have to do, it's a means to an end. I think that I might cry, and sometimes I don't know the reasons why. I'm gonna hide under the covers, go silent on the phone, turn off all the lights and let them think that I'm not home. I know I'll be alright. Oh, it's just a part of life, but right now I might cry.
Well, we'll do a real life clap, and I hope you can see all the virtual clapping
Yeah.
coming up the screen as people are hitting the button there. That was wonderful. Thank you so much for that performance. We do have a couple more questions, more guitar related questions, if you don't mind.
Please.
We talked about your string preferences, and that makes sense, especially considering you commented on the size of your fingers. Is there anything specific about your guitar setup that you're particular about? Do you prefer high action? Do you prefer any sort of relief in the neck? Anything particular, or you're not that kind of fussy about how the guitar's set up?
I'm not super fussy, actually. I get asked that all the time too when I like arrive at shows, and the sound person is, you know, asking what I want in terms of reverb and what I want in terms of, you know, I feel like I've played in a lot of different situations that have been less than ideal, you know, rain even, like outside, uncovered. So it's I'm pretty unfussy when it comes to that. I prefer, you know, that the tuning pegs are to go in the right direction. Like if somebody restrings my guitar, which, you know, I string my own guitar most of the time, but sometimes if somebody does it and they do it the wrong way, I will take all the strings off and start over. I can't have that. You know, I have a lot of capos, but I only use this one, and if I don't have it, like my show is ruined already before I even start.
Yeah.
So you know, I use certain picks that I prefer, but as far as my guitar, I hope that it's clean and doesn't have a bunch of fingerprint smudgies.
I think that's all you can ask.
Yeah.
You know, we do have a question from people who are, again, and this is for people transitioning maybe to guitar, you know, from a different type of genre. I know you play a lot of country infused stuff. Do you have any tips for people maybe looking to get into country, or maybe incorporate some country elements into other genres that you find helpful on the guitar?
That's a good question. You know, I find a lot of people when they want to make a country song, they just throw a little banjo in it, or throw a little what's it, pedal steel in there. Now, those instruments are great when they're used right, but if you just want to countrify something, I would say for guitar, really, when it comes to country, is just keeping it super simple. That saying, you know, 3 chords and the truth, it's true. It's a thing. I mean, I have a song where I say, oh, it's just 3 chords and the truth too, because I mean, it's in a lot of country songs, but really keeping it simple and not trying to overcomplicate your songs or your performance just because you're very good at what you do.
Yeah.
If you're good at what you do, then it will totally show whether you have, you know, the minor 7th in there or not. But yeah, people are very happy to hear something that's familiar. So those chord progressions and structures and stuff that are familiar, it's a good thing.
Cool. We do have some people who are kind of interested in hearing how you handle your acoustic in a live setting, because I know you play for crowds kind of all sizes.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference when it comes to actually how your guitar is coming across on stage, whether you use like a DI box to go right into the front house, whether you're miking up the sound hole of your acoustic, or whether you're, you know, going from an acoustic pickup out to an amplifier and miking an acoustic amp? What sort of preferences do you have, or does it depend on what venue you're performing in?
That's a good question. I typically, my like standard go-to setup is my LR Bags pickup, my acoustic guy. I much prefer that, and then to let the sound person have control over what is being put out into the audience, and give them control over like the mix of my vocals and the guitar. I've done the mic'd up guitar thing. It doesn't work for me because I move a lot. I don't dance. Dance. Let's be very clear about that. I'm not a dancer, but I just move. I move around when I sing and play, and I bump into it a lot. So it's not ideal for me. Now when I'm recording in the studio, that's different. Yeah. I'll mic up a guitar and I'll go direct, and I'll have 2 different mics and just room mic, you know, all of that. That's a different story. But yeah, as far as performance, I prefer to use a DI, and I have a bit of control over what I'm putting out, and then the sound person will have control over what the mix sounds like going into the house.
Now, the LR Bag system that you're using on your acoustic, is that something that's built in, or is that something that you can kind of install afterwards?
The DI that I use is not built in. I plug that in. The pickup, actually, that's hard for me to answer, because when I bought the guitar, it was the DI that came with the guitar, then it broke like within
Oh.
30 days. And so it was under warranty, so I went and they replaced it. So I'm not actually sure what's in there, but it's working great.
Do you have controls on the side
I have
like adjust
controls, yeah, here, volume and tone and stuff like that. But I don't, I just try to keep them in the middle, and then I control it with my DI box.
Yeah, I found too, for especially people like you who are playing kind of larger stages in front of larger crowds, going kind of the direct route or straight from the pickup and letting the sound engineer front of house handle sound is usually the best way to go, unless you're doing, like you said, if you're recording and sitting in a stationary position and you have the luxury of having mics where you're not moving around, maybe you're just on a stool or something, that definitely works. But for whoever asked, if you're doing larger stage stuff, it's definitely simpler, like Mira said, and usually sounds better if you're going direct out of an acoustic pickup to front of house, or even miking up a cab. So if you're moving around, it doesn't matter because the mic's far away from you.
Yeah, I like to trust my sound person to do their best to make me sound good. So
and speaking of sound good, do you mind if we take another break and hear some more playing before we kind of finish up our questions and get to the audience Q&A portion?
You got it.
All right.
Let's see what we got here. I'm not going to say any bad words.
Thank you.
But I will put a different word in its place.
Okay. This is a family-friendly show.
Of course. So I'm a songwriter, right? And that's it's a hard job in that it's the best job in the world, and you may never advance in your career. You may just be in your basement writing songs for the rest of your life, and that's fine. So where's my tuner? I wanted to write a song about what it's like. I don't think I set out to write this song, really. It just kind of started coming to me, and I thought, well, let me go get a pen. That's a lie. I don't write on paper anymore. I use my computer. I don't know why I said that.
It's a romantic notion to think that you.
Yeah. All right. I was up half the night trying to get the last line. Try to figure out what to say and how to make it right. It's all been said before, so I waste my time. You may have heard this song before, but this one is mine. 'Cause I've put in too many years to walk away and change careers. I know what I signed up for, but I'm getting tired. I have always followed the rules. I know it's 3 chords and the truth, but I'm running out of ways to get inspired. 'Cause half of me wants to quit, the other half's a fighter. I'm a songwriter. Radio won't play that, you better change it. We need more upbeat stuff, rearrange it. I hate to admit it, but I'm feeling insecure when everyone but me is out on tour. 'Cause I put in too many years to walk away and change careers. I know what I signed up for, but I'm getting tired. I have always light shines on me. I know that I'm right where I need to be. 'Cause I've put in too many years to walk away and change careers. I know what I signed up for, but I'm getting tired. I have always followed the rules. I know it's 3 chords and true, but I'm running out of ways to get inspired. Just wanna write the one that sets your heart on fire. So tell me, why do I still feel like I'm a liar, saying I'm a songwriter? I'm a songwriter, yeah.
Well, that was very lovely. Thank you so much. I appreciate you performing for us. I will say this, you seem to have a lot of love from Brazil. So to our Brazilian viewers here, thank you.
Thank you.
Have you been able to travel to South America to perform at all?
Not yet. I've been to South America, but not for performing.
Well, I think you've got a built-in audience here.
I ought to go.
If the live stream is any indicator, and to our Brazilian friends, I'm sorry to hear that Neymar is injured and out for the season. I know that's irrelevant to this conversation, but anyway.
Well, wait, I want to know, whose house can I stay at when I come?
So when she does her South American tour, there are going to be places set up for her to stay at. Okay, we'll map out the route ahead of time. But
Great.
It seems like we've got a lot of support, so that's really cool. We do have time to kind of hit upon one more question before we take some audience Q&A. I know a lot of people have had their questions posted in the comments. So we have a few of those, but one more thing that you touched upon earlier when we first started was kind of your live stream path, and you alluded to now it's no longer around. I'm assuming that's Periscope, correct?
Yeah.
Do you still do any of the live stream stuff or keep up with that? And if so, do you have any tips for people who are maybe looking to get into that in terms of, equipment or just scheduling or how that whole thing works and to stay on top of it?
I don't know that I have any advice for the current atmosphere. I'll tell you, I was streaming a lot, and then the pandemic happened, and then everyone was live streaming, and I felt like the market was totally saturated, and I got really discouraged doing it because everybody was doing it, and people were just done with watching live stream concerts. They wanted to watch in-person concerts. And then my app went away that I was using, so I started streaming on Twitch a little bit. I really like Twitch. That's a good platform that I would recommend if you want to stream for like long periods of time. I think that there's different platforms that provide different that meet different needs. Instagram is awesome for like pinging all of your followers that you already have and putting on a show for them. I don't necessarily find it's great for finding new fans unless you do things like this, where you do like a dual thing, and I get to meet all of your people, and you get to meet all of my people, and so I get to tell all my people, you guys should follow Elixir because they're the best strings in the market, and you should follow Performance Magazine because they've been really good to me, and you should check them out. And that means that they're working with other artists that are probably really good people because, I'm a great person, obviously. So we get to do things like that here, but Twitch I liked a lot because they have a lot of bells and whistles. So you can, I had, one thing I did with the pandemic was I bought, I went a little off the rails for a minute. And I bought a bubble machine that did fog and bubbles, and it would blow the fog into the bubbles. So I had what's called bubbles. And I set it up in my office so that when somebody tipped me, it would go off. And it became a really sticky mess, but it's a way that your viewers can engage with you while you're playing, and they can turn on lights and fans and noises and whistles. And so you can make a nice little chunk of change while you're singing, or streaming video games, which is what a lot of people do on Twitch. But it also gives you like direct engagement, interaction with your viewers.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up Twitch, because we've tackled live stream stuff in the past, and I think a lot of artists have in their head that Twitch is solely for video game content and just gamers doing playthroughs and stuff. And there's way more music on there. If you haven't actually gone down the rabbit hole, there's way more music than you might ever imagine. And like you said, there's a lot of bells and whistles. There's tip capabilities, so you can actually generate, income when you're off the road. So I'm glad you brought that up. So for anybody who have that question, or whoever asked that question, Twitch is something really great to look into, and it's not just for video game content at all.
It's also a very supportive community. Yeah. I found that when another performer was singing and they were going to end their stream, they would go to my stream and dump all of their viewers into mine, and we would do that to each other. And so it's just a really good vibes over there.
Yeah. So if you're a performer and you're looking for kind of another stream just to get out, find new people, and just perform, definitely look into Twitch. The app's super easy to use. There's a lot of advanced features that you can tap into as an artist that even aren't video game applicable. So we do have a couple minutes here. Maybe we can get to one or two viewer questions.
I have all the time in the world. You take your time.
We touched upon recording in the studio, but someone asked, and I think this is a relevant question, especially for acoustic guitar, what's the best way for you to record guitar parts? And do you ever record your vocals and your rhythm parts at the same time, or do you always do those separately? And I know people have varying opinions on this. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay. Depends on what I'm recording. If I'm recording a demo, I'm playing guitar and I'm singing separately, and I'm doing kind of a quick, like, let's just get it down so we can get the point across.
Yeah.
We call it a quick guitar vocal demo. Almost a work tape, because there's no drums, no bass, no key, like there's no fluff, no harmonies, no nothing.
Just a real demo.
Yeah.
Here's what the song is.
I'm tuning everything to make it sound good, but it's very simple. And I like doing demos like that now, because it doesn't commit them to a trend in production. So they're just very blueprint, and then you can turn them in to publishers, or to send them to artists, and they can hear them with their own production style. But typically that's like a really raw way to pitch a song. And that's my preferred way right now. When I'm recording like a record, I hire guitar players. I do. I'm a good guitar player, but I'm not the best. And I would really rather hire somebody who is prolific and has a deep vocabulary of guitar that they can pull from their knowledge and put in my record and make it sound amazing. And these guys are a bargain, and they're incredible. And so they don't get paid enough. They're studio musicians, and anytime I can hire them for a day, I try to do that, because they're again, their vocabulary is just way deeper than mine, and I would love to have that.
No, I appreciate the honesty. Someone who's willing to say, look, I bring in great musicians to play on my records because I want my records to sound fantastic. Yeah. And then when you go out on tour, obviously it's you and the band that you're able to put together, performing all the stuff live in your style.
Yeah. And what's like, when I say that word vocabulary, what I mean by that is we're not just tracking guitar here. They're coming up with parts, riffs, intros, breaks. They have played on every top 40 record you've heard in the last 20 years. And so I'm bringing these guys in to not duplicate, but to come up with one that's appropriate for my song, for the BPM, the key, the tone that we're trying to match. And they're doing something that hasn't been done before. And so when I want them to pull from their vocabulary is something that would be appropriate for mine. And I can emulate it. I can duplicate it when I'm on stage, but I want them to come up with it. So really, now that I say that, they should probably get some writer's credit for coming up with some of these riffs. But But yeah, they're not always coming up with the riff. Sometimes I'm like, I want the riff like this, and they do it, make it better.
No, and that makes total sense. You're almost bringing them in kind of as almost in a producer's role, but more to arrange the song, to kind of take your song and add the arrangement. And that's really crucial, because I've heard good songs with bad arrangements that I wish someone in the studio had raised a hand and said, hey, let's maybe work on the production a little bit more, because the song is there.
Yes. But
then me as a magazine getting stuff sent to me, I listen to it, I'm like, man, the song is there, but the recording just isn't.
Yeah. Your producer is literally going to make or break your record. Hiring somebody who has a vision and that you trust and can sort of yield to is going to be really important for that.
So I knew this question was coming up, and maybe we'll end here, but a couple of people have asked, what was it like to play with Marc Broussard, who's one of my absolute favorite artists of the past probably 10, 15 years, who I've seen live probably 3 or 4 times, and I love him.
He's incredible. He's super kind. So anything you would want in a hero, he is that guy. Yeah, we actually recorded that song without ever meeting. We spoke on the phone, but we didn't meet in person. And
oh, wow. Okay.
And then released the song, and it did very well. So we decided to shoot a video together. So he invited me out there, and I went to Louisiana. It was very sticky, even though it happened to be Mardi Gras, which wasn't even on my radar. But I was in Louisiana, and I'm like, what's with all the beads? Oh, yeah. And we shot that video. I'll tell you, the first take we had to cut because I sang my first verse and I sang the chorus, and then it goes to him, and the noise that comes out of that man's mouth isn't human. It's like angels, and the clouds parted, and I went, and they had to like pan the camera away from me because I was so speechless. This man sent shivers up my spine, and it was incredible. And then they brought in, we were shooting 3 videos that day, and we got through 2 of them, and then we decided to take a break for lunch. And they brought in fried shrimp po' boys, which I'd never had before, but they called them the session killers. Everybody eats them and then gets too tired to keep working.
That is a very Louisiana thing. It's a very Marc thing to do.
So good.
It's funny you say you had that reaction to him, because I've seen a lot of live stuff, and I've seen Marc perform a couple times. And there's only like one instance where I've seen a singer on stage who basically like raises the hairs on your neck, and it was Marc performing his song "Home," where the band drops out, and it's just like this guttural thing coming out of him, where it's just a cappella, it's just him. The band stops for a second, and the whole audience, you can feel like the goosebumps.
Yeah. And that's why people keep going to his concerts, because he's very good at creating moments. He doesn't just stand up there and regurgitate his records that you're streaming on Spotify. That's not what a performer does. What Marc does is performance art, and he's very good at it. So if you get a chance to see him, if he's coming through your town, which he is, because he's constantly touring.
He's always on.
You gotta.
Yeah, I think he's touring now.
All the time, and he has like 4 or 5 children too. So they're just incredible. I met his wife and their kids, and they're super sweet and just really good people all around.
Yeah. Well, Mira, let's end there. Perhaps we can chat again in the future. If people want to find you online and stream your music and watch your videos and stuff, what's the easiest way for them to find you and to interact with you if they want to?
Well, this is my Instagram account.
Yes,
and my name is Mira Goto. You can find me on all things Mira Goto. I'm not very good at TikTok, but I'm trying to post there like one song I've written about every day. So if you want to hear more of my crap, then there is a good place to do it. But I like hearing from you guys and meeting you guys. So if you have more questions, please send me a message. I check them all the time. And thank you very much for having me.
Awesome.
It's nice to meet you.
It was nice to meet you too. Hopefully we get to chat again.
Yeah.
I will say this, if anybody joined the stream kind of mid-chat or maybe had to duck out, we're going to save a copy of this up on the Elixir channel. And if you head over to Performer Magazine's YouTube channel, probably starting tomorrow, we'll upload the full version of this archived too. So if anybody missed it, we'll send out an announcement. Hey, you know, in case you missed it, boom, we've got the full version up there. So you can hear the entire conversation up on the Performer YouTube and on the Elixir Instagram channel, probably starting in a few minutes. But Mira, thanks so much again. Thanks to everybody who joined us. Thanks to Elixir for allowing me to host. And until next time, we'll see you soon.
Bye. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.